Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another day. And we're at day 64 of Daily Motivations for African American Success. And as my son Brandon would say, this is not just for us because we're all in need of being motivated. So everybody is welcome to the barbecue. Bring a plate, bring a plate, bring a plate. And by that, I mean show up, bring yourself, show up. As you all know, if you've been rocking with us, Brandon, my son, is still taking care of some things. So he will be back hopefully next week. We will see. But in the meantime, I've been blessed and I feel honored to have had my cousin Will on with us thus far. He is going to be with me this morning. He's just running a little bit behind. So what I'm going to do is get us started by way of kind of doing a quick review, going back down memory lane, right? Back down daily motivations memory lane until he gets on with us, which will be about 5 minutes. So I see KL out there rocking with us. Hey, beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, KL, for that beautiful way of saying good morning, I guess. And then my brother Mike is rocking with me as well. So, you guys, what I'm going to do, as I said, this is Daily Motivations for African American Success. I'm going to start by saying this. If you've not got the book, if you've not gotten the book, if you don't have this book and you've been rocking with us, what's wrong with your rocking chair? What are you doing? What are you doing? Because if we don't show up, you don't get to get this food, right? If you show up to the barbecue and there's no food, what will you do? That's why I say bring a plate, bring you. Get this book. We don't benefit by any way. What we do, what it does when you get this book is, number one, it supports this author because we are giving away his words, something that he should be paid for. So we're giving that away free every day. We are reading his words. So in doing that, we are taking something, I feel we're taking something from him. So you guys get this book. I've said it. If you cannot afford it, if you just really cannot afford it and you want it, I'll get it. I'll gift it for you. Right. And I said, if you just really can't afford it, I will gift it to you. And I'm saying that again and in that manner because sometimes we can afford it. We just spend money on things that we want. We've talked about that. Wealth is not about how much you have, but how little you need. I do believe that God supplies our every need. You might, wow, my brother will understand this. I just thought about him. You know, as I talk about food, you may have food. It may not be what you want, but you need food, right? You need food. So you may not have that steak, but you may have a pack of noodles and some chicken backs. A pack of noodles in the cabinet and chicken backs or chicken back in the freezer. And you can make a meal out of that. Come on, my brother. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. So if you cannot afford it, I got you. You have to put the pride down, let the ego go, and reach out to me. And I got you. So I am going to go ahead and get us started by reading the back of the book as we wait for Will. He wants to be in on this one, so I'm going to honor his wishes and try to give us a little time before we jump right into it. But when he comes on, we'll be ready to do that. So, Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead you to the achievement of your true goals. Let me say that again. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead you to the achievement of your true goals. In 365 short but powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, author of popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes, but also when to say no, and when to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans, such as, but not limited to, Malcolm X, Marianne Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year. But what it teaches you, y'all, what it teaches you will last a lifetime. Black Enterprise says each affirmation in this valuable and thought provoking book takes only a few minutes to read, but is worthy of more time for contemplation. All right. So, what I'm going to do as we wait for a little while, I'm going to go back down memory lane, right? And I'm going to start with yesterday. So, and I'm going to give you today's. I'm going to give you. So if you've not seen it, it is your first impression. That's the topic for today. Your first impression. Yesterday was who are you kidding? So we talked about who are you kidding when you pretend to be of and in the status, right? I see Lil Will coming on with us here shortly. Um, the day before that, like nobody's business. Are you living and doing things by way of excellence? By with saying that it's by no, I'm sorry, like nobody's business, and we've heard that many times before. So you do it with excellence, expectation. Let me bring little Will in. Hey, hey, hey! Didn't take long at all. How's it going?
It's going well, Auntie. How you doing?
I'm good.
Sorry
I'm
for the
good.
technical difficulties.
That's all right. It happens. It happens. It happens. It happens. So I already did the back of the book, and I was just kind of going down. I said daily motivations for African success, back down memory lane. Just going over some of the topics. I didn't get very far. So what I'll do is turn it over to you. We are ready to spin in it if you are ready to rock.
All right, so we're on day 64, right?
We're on day 64.
Day 64 is Miss Brenda with us.
It is. Yes, I believe so.
Okay, okay.
No, no.
All right, so
So no. It's actually Marquita Andrews, Girl Scout, who holds record for
right. No,
cookie sale.
I was asking
Oh,
Miss
yesterday.
our consistent attendee, Miss Brenda. Is she with us this morning?
Oh, she is not. She's not. My brother is out there with us, and then we have Nelda Brown KL, all the way from Valdosta, all the way from Las Vegas by way of Valdosta, the way that I know
Okay,
them anyway.
okay.
So
Welcome
Miss
on
Brenda's
in.
not
Welcome
out there
on in.
with us.
All right. So April 4th, day 64 for daily motivations for
Oh,
African
I'm
Americans
sorry.
to say,
I'm sorry.
oh,
She's out there. She said, "Yes, I am." We told you have to say good morning. Stop playing, Miss Brenda. Say good morning so we know you're out there. Stop playing with us.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
So, um, the title of this morning's passage of motivation is Your First Impression. The quote is from Marquita Andrews, Girl Scout, who holds the record for cookie sales. Now, for everybody that understands, y'all probably partaking in a couple Girl Scout cookies. To be number one in cookie sales is a big deal. And the quote reads, "You have only one chance to make a first impression. Make it count." And the passage goes on to read, "What constitutes a pleasing personality? The Bible offers a well known guideline. And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them." That statement appears in various forms in many religious and philosophies. It is appropriately called the Golden Rule. You and I are forced to coexist in a world inhabited by others. How we approach and treat all members of society and how society reacts towards us is partially determined by how well we adhere to this mandate. A bus driver had a female passenger who was really irritated She let loose with a string of unrepeatable words. Everybody was ashamed. When the profane passenger got ready to disembark at her bus stop, the driver said, "Madam, you left something behind." She asked him, "What is it?" She asked him what it was, and he said, "A very bad impression. Your personality is the medium by which you will negotiate your way through life. Your personality will demonstrate to a large extent your ability to associate and cooperate with others with minimum friction. Your personality is the sum total of your mental, spiritual, physical traits and
Mm.
habits that distinguish you from all others. Never underestimate the power of a smile, a firm handshake, a warm greeting. There are tools that fashion long lasting positive relationships. The affirmation for this morning is: I know that others will respond to me in a manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. I know that others will respond to me in the manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. For the black folks in the back, I know that others will respond to me in the manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. That is the
Mm.
passage for this morning. And until you want to start first, or you want me to jump into it?
If you're ready, go ahead and jump into it.
So the David mentions in this particular passage and references the golden rule and from a scriptural text from the Bible, and I believe that's the King James version that he's quoting in this particular instance. And one thing that quite interestingly enough, Brandon and I have this conversation all the time. We truly have this conversation all the time. And that conversation is, we both are under the belief with spiritual truth and evidence shown throughout the text, the literature that build both the philosophies, the ideas, and the ideology for the religious beliefs that he and I hold. They're different, but in many ways the same. And if you were to, from a theologian standpoint, venture towards other religions and other belief systems that truly center around how do we coexist in love, it's all for the same purpose. And so, just like David is mentioned in this particular passage, the golden rule is just reworded. There's different verbiage for different religious beliefs, ultimately to get us to the same goal.
Mm.
And with that belief and with the evidence that comes behind it, is to say that, hey, God gave us all the opportunity to have different but similar, if not the same belief, so that we can all achieve the same goal. And that's peace and love amongst one another. It's for us to be hopeful in one another, to understand where our strength comes from, and but to ultimately love one another as God so loved us. And if you look and seek out, evidence and educate yourself on whatever belief, no matter if it's Buddhism, no matter what it is, no matter if you want to, I can't think of another one right now. I don't want to, yeah, I can't think of another one right now off the top of my head. But if you wanted to truly deep dive into the meditation, into the peace practice, the fasting practices, into the prayer, into the renewing of your mind, into coming into this place of understanding, to whereas you always exude or exhibit love in your behavior, is to say that, hey, why aren't we trying to make an impression to one another that ultimately that first impression should always be love? It shouldn't be anything else. One thing that we in the black community, and just speaking on us in particular, as I kind of go into another depth of this, is, we like to say, hey, I'm talking to you a certain way because I love you. And usually when people say that, they're trying to justify talking to you outside of their mind. Like, you talking to me out the side of your neck and you trying to justify it by saying, oh, okay, I'm saying it and speaking to you this way because I love you. No, if you love me, you do things in love and with love. If you cussing me out and you don't get convicted about cussing me out because you just trying to prove a point, that doesn't sound like love to me. I don't know how that sounds like love to you. Maybe that's how love was illustrated to you in certain trauma responses, or maybe in your upbringing. But if you truly were educated on love, you will understand that you have to do it not just in love, but with love, because everybody doesn't necessarily attach to the same love language. We distinguish love and these impressions of love our first experience to say, oh, okay, well, the best way that I can say that you love me is if you speak my love language. But there are multiple different ways to love, and we have to be aware and really attached to all of those, because people would do it in different ways, but it's still with love. And then this is the last thing I say, Auntie, before I turn it over to you. Um, the law of Christ, and a lot of times I don't see a lot of pastors, preachers, ministers mention this, but if you go into the New Testament, the law of Christ is to bear one another's burdens in love. We're supposed to do it
Mm.
in love. And the biggest disconnect between a non-believer and a believer is the impression, or not having the impression or that experience with the love of God through another person. So when we were talking about, through some of the other passages, about being able to truly be a disciple, truly be an advocate, and somebody that is a representative of who God is and what God embodies, the one thing that is easiest for us to do is just love. We don't need money to do it. We need just a little bit of time and a little bit of energy and a little bit of effort. But the person that needs to understand who God is in their life might just need to see the love from you. And are you leaving that impression where everyone that you touch?
All right, nephew. Okay. Thank you for that. Where's my pen? So I'm going to go back to the quote. You have only one chance to make a first impression. Make it count, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you mess it up, let's go now to the lady on the bus who did her thing and the bus driver who says, hey, you left something behind. What's that? A very bad impression. And I would like to think that he knew that that was not her true self, that was not her story, that her inability to control herself came from many things, and that was just the moment. That's the place, the moment that everybody's going to get it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think most of us we have not laid our burdens down. You maybe laid one,
Mm-hmm.
you maybe laid another, and then these things fill up, right? And then you are this
Mm-hmm.
lady on the bus, maybe not on the bus, but you're this lady at work, at home, with your children, with the people that you say you love, right? You say those choice words as nephew was talking about. And it says your personality is the sum total of your mental, spiritual, and physical traits. And get this, y'all, and habits. And they distinguish you from all others. So your mental, how is your mental?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing for it? Your spiritual, how is your spiritual? Are you praying? Are you seeking God? Are you a servant, right? And your physical traits. And let's not leave out habits, because what you do, what you have gotten used to doing, is probably one of your greatest things that keep you where you are. And these distinguish you from all others, y'all. So, your first impression, get this, there's someone that has judged you off of their first impression of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna read the impression. Your impressions of a person or thing is what you think they are like, usually after having seen or heard them. Maybe your impression of a situation is what you think is going on. And so sometimes what we think is going on based on the first impression is not. And that's where Lil Will talks about love, how we have to be willing, even with, and I'm going to say with ourselves, because I believe everything is about us.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about us. So how you see it in this state, yeah, I would have felt some kind of way about this lady, but you know what? I would have been like, what is really going on? And the bus driver put it so perfectly. And I can imagine him saying so softly, hey, you really left something behind. And I know that's not you, but you left a very bad first impression here. So, what will tomorrow be like when you get on this bus with the same people? God forbid you have to ride this bus every day with the same people that you just let have it. So, what if our responses to people, especially those who we love, hey, you left a very bad impression today, instead of reacting to it, right? So, there's so much to come from this. And as you mentioned, the love language, you guys, and I'm gonna have to toot the horn of the life language assessment, because I truly, truly believe before we start asking people to know our love language, we should know our life language. Who are we? How are we wired? What are our strengths? What are those things that we need to build upon? Those negative character qualities. Know your positive strengths, but you also have to know, and that's what I love about the assessment. It doesn't give you all the good. It tells you, hey, this is where you need to do the work. This is where your wires have crossed, and you need to rewire your house or this room, right? So wonder also, how did the lady feel? Because y'all, I've been there. I've been to a place where somebody has got somebody else's stuff or my stuff. They've gotten, meaning that the person that we say, between what is said and what is meant, and what is meant but not said, first impressions are lost. I'll say that. Usually I'll say relationships are lost, but even then relationships are lost, because if she's on a bus and needs to ride this bus every day, imagine the connections that can come through, um, or how you can build a family by riding the bus with people every day. Imagine the conversations. So first impressions matter, right? But what matters most is why. Why did we get this from the lady on the bus that day? And what were her thoughts afterwards? Like I said, because I've been the person that's blown up and felt really bad afterwards, because I know and I knew that's not who I am. But I had not laid my burdens down. And Lou, I don't know if you remember, I talked about that Monday, because at church Sunday with my family, that's one of the
Mhm.
things, one of the songs that came up. And those hymns, y'all, are different. Our hymns are different,
Mhm.
man. And this is a country church, so you can imagine the hymns that we heard, right? But when I heard my cousin sing that one, it touched me. It reminded me of the burdens that I've laid down. So I don't have to leave behind bad first impressions as often as I used to, because I'm human, right? So I'm gonna have my days, but they are far, far and few now. So again, this is about the work we do. I know that others will respond to me in the manner in which I respond to them. I think it's okay for us to know that and expect that, but y'all, sometimes we just keep it real. We don't get that. We don't get that. Sometimes I feel that we treat people who love us the worst if we've not
Mhm.
laid those burdens down,
Work.
right? It's something that irritates us when people try to love us if we don't love ourselves. How dare you love me because I don't love me? How dare you see me because I don't see me, right? I will be sure to cast a good impression. It's still our responsibility, our assignment, to be mindful and intentional about always casting a good impression. Why? Because you just might be the only thing, or the only first good impression that someone sees. I had someone say to me, and I'll pass it back over to you, during after the family reunion. During the family reunion, I had a cousin who was out, had had a bit too much to drink, and he was out. He wasn't staying at the hotel, but he was there looking for his sister, and he was not the most quiet in doing so. And so I stepped out in the hallway, and I didn't know it was him at the time, but when I learned that it was him, I was like, what are you doing? Come in here, come in this room. And it's late. I got to get up the next morning. I was really, really, really tired. Come on in here. And he sat down, and I kind of gave him the talk that I felt my grandmother or his mother would have, who are deceased. And he's older than I am, right? But mentally, because he's been doing the same thing all of his life, mentally. And I'm actually thinking myself, when are you going to stop, dude? And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing out here? Sit down, because I'm going to tell you, just truth be told, you're a black man walking around a hotel calling somebody's name and you're drunk. So what's going to come of that, right? So later on, I was shit because I worried about him that night, even though that's what he's been doing. And I did worry about him, right? Because he's my people. And I would have worried about him if he wasn't my cousin. So someone said to me the next day, don't worry about that. Don't He's been doing that all his life. That's probably what he's gonna be doing all his life, whatever. And my thought was, what if this was the one time he was ready
Mm-hmm.
to listen? What if this was the one time that he was ready to listen? What if? Because sometimes it takes us longer. But what if it was the first time he was ready to be set free, and God had chose me to do that job, to help, right? To say something. I don't know. But my first impression of him is who I've known him to be all his life, right? But there's someone in there, there's something in there that I feel at any given time he could be ready to lay those burdens down. And here, how dare I just assume that he's always going to be how he always has been, right?
Right.
Right.
And is
Over to
that
you, nephew.
assumption love? That's the
Right.
question. Is that assumption reinforcing the fact that you say that you love this person? Because if you love somebody, you always try to help them. If you love somebody, you never give up on them. If you love somebody unconditionally, it doesn't matter what they do, you're always going to stay consistent with them because you know that's what they need from love, the love that they don't have, the love that they need to see, and the love that they need to feel. And that's huge. And to your point, Auntie, you mentioned, you know, what it is that you have in you ultimately comes out. So if you don't ultimately love yourself, then how can you give love? If your cup is not runneth over of love that God gives you or fills you up with, then how can you share it? So you have to have that love for yourself. It tells you that you must two things you must love. Two elements of love you must have before you really and truly can love somebody else is God and yourself. It's God and
Mm.
yourself. The equation is simple. You gotta learn how to love God, and you gotta learn how to love yourself. That's the
Nephew, I
that's
like that. I like that.
that, and the crazier thing about it, there are people that are married and have been married for years. There are people who have had kids. There are people who have went their entire life in a
Come on.
relationship with somebody else, and they didn't have that equation solved first. And so when we talk about toxic relationships, when we're talking about going through hardship with an individual or challenges and not understanding why the lines are not they're crossing opposed to coming together. Why are these two dots not being able to join together for us to really bond and create this love atmosphere and this climate and this experience together is because we don't have the criteria. We didn't take the prerequisite courses. But then we
Mm.
go and we get these short-sighted ideas of love, or we get to experience love by watching somebody else do it, no matter how flawed it may be, and we go and repeat the same behavior, and we're like, well, I thought I was loving. I thought that I loved you the way that you need. I thought I loved myself the way that I thought that I needed to love myself. But you were selling yourself short. You were not giving yourself enough grace. You were not being merciful with yourself. You were not being understanding. You were not casting aside all cares. You were not holding no grudges. You were not living in love. You're not being kind to yourself. I mean, I could go through the entire actual definition because sometimes they get convoluted when we're on this conversation of love, where we look at what the world has taught us opposed to what God has said, and then now we got all these people calling love different things. That's
Mm.
why we're so disconnected, is because we don't even have the same understanding of what love is. But I'm gonna pivot for a second to first impressions because I know we've talked about love, but love is that impression. But let's talk about first impressions from the reference of Marquita Andrews, and we're talking about Girl Scout cookies. Now we all know Girl Scout cookies have been sold for decades at this particular point. For decades, people love these cookies. Now, this young lady has been able to set a mark and a bar that hasn't been surpassed since it was set back in 1991. I did a little research, IT, back in 1991. And why would David Kimbro use her quote for a first impression passage or topic in a motivation? Well, my belief is in this particular
Mm,
sense is okay, how did she the only way she was able to break a record for Girl Scout cookies sold, even though they pretty much sell themselves, is because she found a way to set the right first impression. She
mm,
was able to do something phenomenal, something incredible by understanding that how she made that first impression with her clientele, with the customer that was coming through the Walmart door, through the Publix door, through the Kroger door, through the Aldi door, through the Fresh Market, whatever store that you see Girl Scout cookies being sold at Target or whatever the case may be. She found a way to set the right first impression that truly made an impact on people for them to buy from us. One thing that I'm in
mm.
sales, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
my profession starts in sales. I'm in retail, right? And a lot of times people say, okay, well, I don't want to be a part of sales. I don't like selling. I don't like trying to convince somebody. I don't like trying to persuade somebody. But here's the thing: throughout life, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're selling yourself every single time you talk to somebody. Every single time you go to an interview. Every single time somebody speaks to you for the first time, you get an opportunity to sell yourself to them, and that's through the impression that you make. And I'm gonna turn it over to you at this particular point, Auntie. One of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou is, "People don't remember what you did. They don't remember what you
Feel.
said. They remember how you made them feel."
Oh, powerful.
It's the feeling. The feeling is the impression. The impression we want to leave is the love that we have for that person that we've never met before. Or maybe we've met them, but maybe this was the time through your assignment, through the relationship that you have with them, to Auntie's point, that they're actually listening to what you have to say. That it's been this horse or the stronghold has been swung on, beat on so many times that now it's about to fall, but it's based on your perseverance and your perseverance in love and with love.
So, nephew, I'm gonna share something with you guys. You just made me think about something that happened yesterday, and I mentioned yesterday that what I'm doing now is actually something that I used to do some years ago, and it's sales, right? And I was one of those people too. Like, I don't like dealing with people like that. People are finicky and things like that. So when I was doing it some years ago, and we're called brand ambassadors. And
Mm-hmm.
what it is about is windows. So we are one of the nation's top window company, top notch. I mean, top notch. I have them myself as of June 1st last year. So now I was away from there maybe about 3 years, right? I stopped doing it for about 3 years. Then I started last year as a speaker for the company, right? Love that part because I loved that part. So I would go around and do different speaking engagements to potential customers. And as of recently, I just started as marketing and training manager, right? Now, get this, y'all. This is something that I didn't even like to do. And as I took on the marketing and training manager position, I'm like, okay, I got to get myself right because I cannot ask anybody to do something that I don't want to do or don't like, right? And at this time, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I did feel differently about it, and it could be that I had gotten the windows since
Mm-hmm.
the parting before. So yesterday I'm out, and as I mentioned yesterday, the first time back in the field by myself, which means we're out in the field sometimes, like at an event or a retail or something like that. The first time I was out in the field by myself, one day in a few hours, I think I finished with 6 people, right? 6 people. And this is a huge thing because the pay is really well. So I felt differently about it. I got up that morning, and truth be told, before I thought, this is I'm better than this. I'm telling y'all, this is how I felt, right? So me up here, remember I'm telling y'all about the street sweeper, right? Whatever you do, do it with excellence. And why wouldn't you do that with windows? Because most everybody has a house, right? Right? And they have windows, hopefully.
Right,
So one
right.
of the best jobs to have because everybody needs windows. And when you really learn about it, you know that you need good windows, right? They really matter. So yesterday, and everybody is a customer to me. That's my eyesight now. If you come in here, you got a house. That's what I'm
Right.
thinking. So I approach, I don't care what you look like, how I don't care. If you pass by me, I'm talking to you, right? That's my new set mindset. So I did my due and I noticed I was working with a customer and I noticed someone that I had approached earlier was standing back as if he's waiting. So, and he was, after I finished, he came up and y'all literally, this man offered me a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
He offered me a job, a really good job. And he said, you know, I came in here and the way you approached me, and he said, oh, I have new windows. I said, oh, they're not our windows. We take them out for you and we will replace them, right? We take out new windows. And I said it in a joking, like, and then I said, enjoy your new windows. Glad you know the importance of windows. And so he came back, and this guy he is the insurance person for all of Memphis City schools.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I've not been able to find anybody. Because he first asked me, you know, when he came back, do you love what you do? I said, absolutely, or I wouldn't be here. In this season, I wouldn't be here. So I love what I'm doing now. And he said, it shows. So that first impression, he actually asked me to come shadow him today. That's
Mm-hmm.
how he said, I'm going to this school. I'll be there. You can shadow me as long as you want. I would just like for you to see if it's something that you think will be for you, right? His first impression. And I thought about it as you were talking. His first impression, right? He would not have gotten that from me last year. I might have been, whatever, you know. But I was like, okay, they're not for you. Guess what? The next one is. But I can't be upset with this one. I can't get mad because he wasn't my one or my two or my three. But his first impression of me allowed him to walk through Walmart, come back, and wait until I finish with the customer. And then as I'm talking to him, he's so suited and booted, people are walking by him. Nice suit, sir. I must have heard that 3 or 4 times. So he mentioned it. He was like, I guess this suit is nice. I've heard. I said, it really is. It caught my
But
eye when he
he
came
was
in.
working on impressions too.
Right, right. I mean, so the first impression, that's what we're talking about. And so you always have to show up. And that's what I'll say to the team that I work with is I'd rather you do this. If you're not feeling your best, if you're not mentally, spiritually in that zone, I'll go in for you.
Mm-hmm.
You might get it in an hour or two. All I have to do is show up and then you might get yourself together. Because guess what? We're human. We're human, but you have to know you. You have to know yourself. And as you said, Lil, 2 elements. You said love God and
And love
yourself.
yourself.
Y'all, that's that's what I don't know why I feel led to talk about marriages in that way. That's the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do believe we're not getting married for the most part to people that we don't love. We just don't know how to love. We know how to fall in love because you do good showing up with those first
Right.
impressions. Maybe that's why.
The
Man, when we
representative.
show up with the first impression,
Yeah, the
don't
representative
we
shows
show up? So if you can show up as the first impression enough to make somebody say, I do, why can't you keep doing
Mm-hmm.
what you've been doing? Why can't you get up with a fresh? I think yesterday it talked about a fresh something as I turned it over to you. No, I think it's the back of the book. A fresh perspective. I don't know where I think I heard that here as we talked about it. Um, why can't we wake up intentional about first impressions and not just outside of your home or the people that you love? Inside your home, why can't we
Right.
be the best version of ourselves around the people and with the people that we love? Why can't
Well,
we say to
see,
the people that we love, you know what?
you
You left
mentioned it,
us.
but I think you own to
What?
something, Auntie. When you
Come
said
on.
yesterday, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Some people are in the household married to somebody. who are you kidding? Like, who are you kidding? You're about to spend the rest of your life with this person and they don't even know who you are
Mm,
because you don't know who you are.
mm.
You're not being truthful and honest with yourself. So the impression that you made to gain that person was not a true impression, was not an authentic impression. And now that you have to now show them exactly who you are, you're
You don't know
afraid.
how to do
You're
it.
afraid. You're like, oh my gosh, what if they don't really like me? Because I've been kidding myself this entire time to get into this space, in this marriage, in this relationship. And now I can no longer be that person. I have no energy to be, disingenuous, to not be authentically who I am, and I'm afraid that they're not going to be willing to accept it. And so that's the huge part about it is being authentic in who you are, being and being the impression that you want to leave based off the person that God has made you to be. Right, wrong, and indifferent. Some people gonna vibe with you, and some people won't. That's just what it is. It says in the passage, less friction that you have with others. That's true, but it doesn't mean that it's always an agreement. People don't have to agree with you in order for them to gain a good impression or truly see who you are authentically, and you show them the love that you have to give. But if you always are seeking out, see how you talk to certain folks and they are essentially trying to assume within the conversation exactly where you're going with something,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to buy in too much. So everything
Yeah,
that you say, they're kind of like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." Like, nigga, you don't like everything that I'm saying. Don't do that.
right,
Don't do
right.
that. Like,
You're not even
genuinely,
hearing everything I'm saying because
right?
you're not even there. If I may, I'm going to give you an example of what I thought about when you were talking about couples and first impression. Think about this, you guys. How when you are dating, the first stage of dating, when you are the representative, where do you want to go eat? Wherever you want to go, right? Your answer is wherever you want to go. We want to eat some chicken. Yeah, let's get some chicken, right? But you really don't want chicken. What do you want to watch? Whatever you want to watch, right? You like this movie? Oh yeah, I like that movie, but you really don't, right?
Hmm.
Now you get married, y'all get together. What do you want to eat? You want some chicken? I don't like chicken like that. I don't want a chicken, right? That's how we say. I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm gonna talk like we talk. You want to watch this movie? I don't even like those kind of movies. No, I don't want to watch that. Why is
Right.
it that when? Because I feel like it gets greater later, right? I used to tell Brandon, picnics, hot dog, Burger King. That's where we go when we just dating. Now, when you're the possibility, when you're it, let's go eat some steaks, right? So it
Right.
should get greater later. So if you were willing to eat chicken with me when we were dating and you barely knew me, when you fall in love with me, baby, that's what you want. Daddy wants it too.
Right.
Baby, that's what
Right.
you want. Mama wants it too. Because what am I doing now? I'm in love with you and making you happy. And it doesn't mean, and get this. So if I do this and one day I say, well, you know what, baby, instead of chicken today, because it's about impression, right? It's not what we do, it's how we do it. It's not what we say, it's also how we say it. Because you can say good morning in a way that I don't even want to do the day with you, right? So then once that person realizes that, hey, I'm not offended by this because number one, I know you love me. And that you've been rocking with me on the chicken, you've been rocking with me watching the movies. I want to do what you want to do today. I want to eat
Hmm.
what you want to eat today. That thing goes back and forth. It works. But see, when you don't love God and you don't love yourself, and truth be told, y'all, we need to really question ourselves about, do we really love God?
Hmm.
Do I really love myself? Because truth be told, a lot of us don't even know what's going on with that. And
Right.
so these first impressions, um, wow, they're bad. And we have KL says first impressions are almost impossible to correct. I kind of agree with that, and I kind of don't. I think it is almost impossible depending on how you are.
I think
See, like
that 30
if
and they will become impossible if it loses purpose.
tell me
That's
more.
when the impossible. That's when. Say it again. I say I think I believe it will. But that lasting impression, that first impression, you will not be able to change it if there's no purpose in changing it. If there's
Okay,
a purpose for it and it needs to happen through time, it will change. Through time, it will change. But if it
yeah,
has no purpose, it stays the same.
Right. Because for me, if I and to our KL for that comment, for me, I think if I would say back in the day for me, yeah, it's almost it's almost impossible for you to get me back. But I'm already naturally a person where I'll give you over and over and over again to make it right, right? To see, I see more in people than I used to see in myself,
But
right?
that's the part, though, Auntie. To your point, that because your purpose has changed for the relationship or for that
Mm,
relational
mhm.
connection. And so because your purpose is willing to be open and be loving, if somebody makes the wrong impression, you still have an open door for them to say, okay, maybe I caught you at the wrong time, or maybe I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you were dealing with this, it was something that I was not aware of, and so you're more
So
open to
right.
love regardless, which gives it purpose. But once the purpose, put it like this. I mean, we all been young, dating high school, college. I'm gonna just use those two, like that time frame. Let's say anywhere from 17 to 22 or 23, right? Some people you will meet that first time, however they meet you, especially in immaturity, however they meet you, that's their impression of you, that's their stamp, that's their brand of and who you are to them going forward. If they like you, if they didn't like you, if you were cool, if you were not cool, if you met the criteria for whatever was going on in the culture at that particular time, usually it was a good impression. But if you didn't meet that criteria at the time that they met you, then you were what we would consider to be in our culture a lame, or somebody that was, I'm gonna just use lame. There's some other things, especially when you talk about dating, that can be attached, like as far as titles and pronouns from that standpoint. But you would maybe considered a lame. If you once you were deemed a lame, it wasn't no coming back from that. Because to whoever that is, especially just speaking from a male's point of view, from a male's point of view, if you were a lame male to a female, especially to a friend group, it wasn't no change in that because the purpose that they wanted out of it, whether it was it to gain a little bit more acknowledgement, some more social capital within the school because you were not a lame, you actually knew some people, you were actually kind of cool, so it's like, hey, I'm gonna be around you, but it had to fulfill a purpose. It had to fulfill a purpose. Once that purpose is gone, you're stuck. You're stuck. You stuck. You will have to go and fulfill another purpose for them next time you have an opportunity to make an impression in order to uproot what they thought about you. And you see that in the workplace all the time. When somebody meets you and either you don't have an answer or an answer to their question or a solution to a problem, then they're gonna think that maybe you don't have the aptitude or the capability to do the job, which leaves an impression. But the next time that they meet you, if you, depending on what the conversation is about, and maybe you're a subject matter expert in that particular area, and they need information from you, now another purpose has been rebirthed, and now you fulfill that purpose. Their impression of you has changed.
Mm. Nephew, how much time you got today?
Oh, we good. We good because one of my meetings got pushed back, so I'm rolling. This is my last
Won't
day.
God, won't
I
God
don't know,
do
but
it?
I'm gonna be
Girl,
invited back, so I'm hyped.
the meeting got pushed back. Won't God do it? Right? Because I got to share something with y'all. I got to share something. Woo. Okay. This is going to be hot and heavy, and I might have to have a conversation after this one, but so be it. With off screen with some people. So I'm going to ask this question first. Have you? I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. So I'm going to ask you to think about a person that you've met and your first impression of them, right? Or what their life must be like. You get this vision of them, perspective.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then when you get to know them, you're like, whoa. I mean, and I'm not talking about relationship wise. It could just be someone, friend, that you meet. Um, and you meet them and they have so much going on in their life, or they're nothing like you thought they were, right? In many areas. Just think about that because that's happened to me. Like you just see someone on one of maybe their best days, and they seem well put together, well, um, living in their purpose, and we may have to ask ourselves, why do we assume that? What is it that we're looking at? Or why are we even trying to determine that without getting to know the person? getting to know them, right? But I think it's a natural thing just to kind of sum, like two times two, you see it, it equals four, right? You see people, and we have these colored lenses on that
Bias.
help us color that person, right?
Yeah.
From our perspective. So I'm going to tell you a story. I had a cousin. I'm going to tell you two because I'm going to have to start with the first one. I had a cousin who and this is for us bios, right? This is daily motivations for African American success. Back in my time when I was a little girl, at that time there wasn't many little girls who had the color of my skin, right? In the family, not that many. You may have had a few here and there. And truth be told, y'all, this is real. Because of that, um, I had always felt like some of my family members just did not like me, and I did not know why. I felt like they just really don't like me, and it was some of my cousins. And so one day, one of my cousins, we're grown now. We ended up working right across we were in the mall. She worked at a store right across from a store that I was working, and so she was one of the ones that I thought just they don't like me. They just don't like me. They just didn't treat me the same. And this was from a little girl. And so when I learned, I said that she worked right across from me. I said, "Hey, let's go to lunch. Can we do lunch sometime since we're right here?" And she said, "Yeah." And we went. We connected. We became buds. One day, she shows up with me a gift, and she says, "You know what? You're okay.
Mm.
You're good, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "We just always thought that you thought you were better than us."
Mm.
And it wasn't that I thought I was, they thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really bad is they would always hear, well, I wouldn't say always, but many times they would hear family members call me white girl.
Mm.
And I remember um, some of my family members calling Brandon white boy. And I said, no, 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 no. We're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Call him by his name, right? So fast forward, just this weekend, I thank God for bringing this out because this has been in my head since this weekend. Other side, another whole total side of family. This
Mm-hmm.
side, the other side was my mom's side. This is my dad's side, and one of my cousins said, "Tammy Gator, they always thought you were the golden child," and I laughed it off. But again, I always thought I felt different, even with that side of the family. I felt like, no, no, I don't know if they really like me either, right? And so when she said that, I went back to that little girl because I didn't feel like they felt I was the golden child. And the person that said this, she said, "Yeah, your grandmother used to tell me this and tell me that and tell me." And I said, "Well, she was my grandmother. Shouldn't she say those things? She was my grandmother, right?" But y'all, we gotta deal with this because we know where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
We know where it comes from. It comes from the division of the lighter skin can be in the house working and we're treated different during slavery. And most times they were because those were the wife probably knew that was her husband's child. She probably knew that was her I mean, her what would that make her? That was her stepdaughter, right? Something like that. Because there was rapes and going on. We gotta learn about our history and we gotta change the way we think and understand why we think it. But I thank God who my cousin who gave me the gift is no longer with us. She's since passed on. But I thank God that she could have just kept moving on, but she thought enough of it. And that was, to me, it was her way of saying, "I'm sorry
Mm-hmm.
that I
Mm-hmm.
judged you based on my feelings and
Mm-hmm.
what I thought I saw. I didn't even give you an opportunity to show me who you were." And I wonder now if I had not asked, "Hey, let's do lunch sometimes." would we really have connected? In spite of how I felt, let's do lunch. And it turned into a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful relationship. She ended up being my girl, and I ended up being her girl. We were cousins. So much so, she bought me that gift, and I still have that dress to this day. She said, "You're okay. You're okay. Like you're good." So I just wanted to share that. This first impression thing can go so many ways, but I wanted to share that, and I hope it has blessed someone. It certainly has blessed me. I feel a little bit more
I
empty
was
this
about to
morning.
say, Auntie, I was waiting. Totally appreciate you sharing that story and being vulnerable with everyone that's on with us now, with me, with everyone that's going to watch the recording. But to your point, when you just said, hopefully that touched someone, I know I'm gonna say I know for a fact that it did. And then the other part of that too, it goes back to something that I said yesterday, that the word tells us that my people are freed by the blood of the Lamb and the power of the testimony. And there's
Mm,
so much liberty in truth. Like there's so much liberty in truth, and there's so much that you can gain from somebody else sharing their story. Like from a coaching standpoint, I push people. From a professional standpoint, I push people. Be open and honest and share your experiences, because we have to do that one thing that we talked about yesterday, and that's learn. And usually, what the difference was, IT, is that now you have learned more about why your experience was the way it was when you were younger, and then her interaction with you allow her to learn more about you, that remove the veil from her experience when she was younger and the impression. And most of the times what we don't learn is we have unconscious biases. We've been taught things, we've experienced things, we went through traumatic situations, and those have formulated our personalities, our mindsets, our responses to stuff. And if we don't have a little bit, and I won't even say a little bit, it takes about 70% self-awareness. Like it takes you challenging yourself, checking yourself, understanding yourself, going back to that time, that moment, and asking yourself why, even as an adult, do I still feel the same way I did when I was a child, and I still have that same feeling today? What about that situation have I not unpacked? What about that situation have I not asked God for help on, for me to have a better understanding as to why I experienced it? What was the purpose and what did I gain from it? And if you're looking at every situation as the glass have full, you're able to walk and give the best impression to everyone. And if it's not the best, I'm not gonna sit up here and fake the funk and say every time every person that you touch is gonna like you. That is not the case. It will not be the case. I can promise you that. For some more than others, for others less than some, I would say. But in the same token, if you could truly understand who you are and love you, love God, when you go to touch that person, the impression that you give is genuine, it's authentic, and who's supposed to be in your life will be in your life. Because one thing I can tell you, whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, you cannot do it by yourself.
mm,
So that impression that you need to make on that person, that you need to have some type of relationship with, whether it be personal or professional, is necessary. It has purpose. And like I was saying earlier, usually the only way you can uproot that first impression is because there's a larger purpose entangled in that situation. So go in every single way that you walk in your fullness, your truth, is to impress in the best way that you know how. Because that might make you set a record to sell over 80,000 cookies. Marquita sold over 80,000 cookies because she
mm,
chose to show up the same way, genuinely, authentically, with every single person that she touched. And then she was able to close that cookie sale just off the strength of being authentic, off the strength of meeting people to the best of her ability where they are. Are you doing it each and every day? Are you meeting yourself where you are? Do you wake up in every single moment say, I'm going to leave an impression for the day? What is my impression going to be? I know some people, they say, hey, I did my one good act, my one good deed for a day. That's the starting point. But how can we get to multiple good deeds? How can we just say one good compliment to somebody that you don't know? My wife tells me all the time that I never meet a stranger.
mm.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't always initiate the conversation. Sometimes people just come up and start talking to me. I promise, Auntie, and I say this with all
I
humbleness, and
understand.
there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? It just left me.
No
No,
kudos
I'm
when
not
you're trying to
conceited at
get
all. No, right. There's no, I ain't not conceited about it at all. It's actually
right.
kind of weird to me at times, but I think it's the spirit of God. To be completely honest, that's
It
just
is.
my impression of it, or my thought process around it. But I get, man, I can be. The other day, I was walking to Party City. I just had on work clothes. I think I might have had on this jacket as well. And it was like this Caucasian family walking by, and they spoke to me like I had met them 2 months ago, and I was, well, hey, how y'all doing? And we had a whole little discourse and dialogue about just speaking and how are you doing, and I'm doing well and wonderful. Go enjoy your food, because they were walking into a restaurant, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. When I say that that happens so often, I cannot tell you it happened. I have a meeting that was pushed back. Auntie, I met this man one time. This is the SVP of engineering for the division over eight states, and he's the top of the echelon. He probably the only people he report to are at headquarters for Comcast. He's given me time, and I met him one time. I met him one time, but I was very intentional. Very intentional. And just a little side story, might be a little funny. I'm a huge, if anybody has ever watched the movie Boomerang, I tried to live my life just like that. I'll be straight up and I'll tell you. Like in my mind, a lot of that stuff I embody, not the misogynistic or womanizing standpoint, because I was raised by women, so I'm not even going. It doesn't even that part I didn't catch because I thought he was wrong for that. But everything else, from his position to his dress to his personality to his mindset to being able to cook, being able to play the piano, to stand in the loft, all those different things. And this one scene from the movie when he was trying to reinvent himself. You know, Angela, not Angela, but can't think of her name right now. Can't think of her name. The girl kind of did him wrong, whatever. It didn't work out the way he wanted to, and they went to a business meeting, and whatever. And the guy was speaking another language. I think it was French or something. And the scene goes, the dude is leaving on the elevator. Eddie Murphy is like, "Hey, yeah, blah 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 blah." They laughing and joking and whatever. And Eddie turns to Robin Givens. That's her name. Turns to Robin Givens and goes, I knew I had him when he did such and such, such and such, such and such. I knew I had him. With the SVP, when the first time I met him, he came in and he started talking about his mother. When he started talking about how to take care of his mother, who was going through a transition in life and trying to get her phone and certain things situated, I related with him on the basis of my grandmother. Because of that, I set an impression. My colleague was another individual in that conversation with us. He told me 2 days later, he said, "Hey man, Mike came back to me later on, was like, hey man, I really like that guy." And it was all because I was intentional by trying to meet him where he was. We could relate off the strength that we have two elderly individuals in our family that are going through transitions. And because of that, I can understand what you're going through, and you can understand what I'm going through. That right there is not only an impression, but it's also operating at the law of Christ. I'm bearing your burden and you are bearing mine, and all we're doing is just having a conversation about
But you know what? Oh, I got so much off of that, what you just said. I'm gonna start with the latest. The last thing you said about the burden. Y'all, when you lay your burdens down, you're able to help somebody. Because if you're full of your own burdens, guess what? You're not gonna even see. You
it. No
see
room in your
differently
cup.
when you're free, right? You feel differently when you're free. It's about us. It's not just about me. So when and then we can pick each other's up or help carry each other's burdens, and we can lay that down together. Right? There's that song showing up again that Helen put out there. When I laid my burdens down, I loved better, I did better, I gave better, I got better, and so much more. So work on laying your burdens down. I want to go back to, I so feel you about this magnet thing. I will say, so often, I just had so many in Albany this past weekend as well. But you reminded me of one when I was working somewhere, and the VP came and asked me to come in, right? And I'm like, and what before that, I would notice her walking past my cubicle, and it seemed like every time she walked by, somebody was there standing in my cubicle door telling me their business. Like, and I'm listening, but I'm still kind of working. And there were many times I stayed late because I had listened to
Hmm.
someone's burdens, right? So I kind of felt like, wow, she's going to think I never work, right? And so one day she asked me, she said, what is it about you that everybody tells you their business? Every time I walk by here, somebody's telling you their business. And I said, I don't know, but I assure you I'm getting my work done. That's
Right,
what I
right,
said.
right.
I'm getting my work done. I don't know. I don't know. And sometimes, and I had to really embrace that, right? It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't make us any, that's our gifts, that's our strengths, because we're willing to see ourselves and lay our own burdens down and our heart for people. And I've been there. I've been to the point where I needed someone to listen to me and hear me, right? And I don't, and there were times where I felt like there was no one. And then there's times where God allowed people to just show up
Hmm.
and do things for me and give me what I needed, right? And so first impressions are first impressions. So with KL, I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to disagree with you. But I know you said almost, but they're not impossible to correct. And if they are, I know you KL long enough to say, then you need to look at yourself. You need to look at you need to clean your lenses. Because truth be told, we've all had and we've all left a very bad impression of us behind that we wish we could go back and do all over again. Truth be told, right?
And if
And I'm
it
gonna mention
doesn't,
this real
Auntie,
quick, and I'm gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
if it doesn't, if it doesn't, then it did. I promise to you, I
Purpose.
promise to you, you can pray, you can ask God about this. If it doesn't come back around for you to change that impression, it again, it didn't have purpose. Let it go.
Purpose. Let it go. Let
Let
it
it
go.
go. It's
That's
okay.
that's important. That's important, especially for people like us. For me, I'll say learning to let people and things go um, was the hardest for me. But now it's easy because I've laid those burdens down, and I know it's not my calling. That everybody is great as peaches are. What the thing that you like the most? Peaches are great, but not everybody likes them, right? And so not everybody is for your book, your story. Let them be in the book that they are supposed to be in. Learn from that very bad first impression. Learn from it. And also hope that you gave them something, even if it was just the look of I see that this is not you. You could look at somebody and they can feel that you see them and you know that that's not the bad impression. The first bad impression is not really who they are. You sound like you got something to say over there. It looked like you got something to say.
I don't know. I feel like a word just dropped in me just now.
I bet you went, oh, he's like TD Jakes over there. Like we said before he started preaching, he was sitting on the back of the bench just rocking and wanting to get up. Come on, nephew, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
All right, so this is what I'll say in closing, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
This was a wonderful, wonderful session. Auntie totally enjoyed it. But the word that I was just given, if you truly want to live an impression, if you truly want to leave an impression, truly with everybody that you're assigned to, truly with everybody that you come in contact with, if whatever is purposeful for that impression to be left, learn how to impress these two elements. Learn how to impress God and learn how to impress yourself.
Mm.
Learn how to impress God and learn how to impress yourself. You will leave an impression on this world, on the people that you're supposed to touch, on the people that are assigned to you, and on the people that need to have that conversation with you or just have you be an ear and feel the love of God from you. If you learn how to impress God and you learn how to impress yourself, you will leave an impression. And today's affirmation was, I know that others will respond to me in a manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. I know that others will respond to me in the manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. Lastly, for the black folks in the back, I know that others will respond to me in the manner in which I respond to them. I will be sure to cast a good impression. The blessing and what I'll add to this, because it definitely needs to be, I'm going to say it definitely needs to be in addition to that sometimes people don't respond to you the same way that you respond to them. And sometimes you don't need to respond to or react to somebody in the same way that they respond and react to you. You don't need to have
Mm.
you don't have to meet energy with energy because that gets you out of character. So if you want to leave an impression, show them and prove to them through your example that because you on this bus acting a plum fool, that I don't have to give you that same energy back. And that alone, because I chose to still be patient, kind, and caring with you, even though you were being ignorant, that will change somebody's life. Don't always meet somebody where they are from a negative standpoint. If it's not for the benefit of who they are, you meet them with the benefit, and that benefit is love.
Nephew, as we close, it's two things you said, and they're really the same thing. You said, learn to love God and yourself, learn to impress God, learn to impress yourself. If y'all didn't get anything out of this, anything else out of this, you could take that home. Love God, love yourself. Make impressing God first in yourself. And the most important thing, life is good.
Life is
And
good.
lay down your burdens today. Y'all be good. Anything else, nephew, before I close it out?
Only thing I'm gonna say is what y'all see from my auntie right now is her impressing herself. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you. When she talks about okay changes, when we all talk about how we used to be a way and now we're not that way anywhere anymore, that's to prove to yourself that you didn't have to be that way in the first place. And ooh, look what I've done. You might not get a trophy for it. Nobody might not give you a certificate for it. You might every now and again get a pat on the back. But the one person that remembers what you did is you. So you to say, hey, yeah, I can stand on. I'm not that person. I know who I am now. I definitely know who I am. You can't tell me who I am because I know. So I'm gonna walk with this boldness, this confidence that's gonna leave an impression because I'm confident in who I am and who God has made me to be. That's what you see. That's the impression. That's what the
Mm.
energy you feel through the camera. That's everything that you're able to exude and feel and receive from my auntie is the fact that oh, I'm confident. I mean, I can talk about what I used to be, but I can tell you who I am now.
Tell you where I'm
And
going, what I'm building. I'm building that cathedral, right?
yeah,
Y'all, when you
right,
ask me
right,
who I
right.
am, when you ask me who I am, I don't look back. I look forward and be like,
Look
oh,
forward.
I'm not just laying bricks, baby. And
That's
nephew, I
it.
think about the song as we talk about the hymns, and I'm gonna really shut up and close. I know I've been changed. You remember that hymn?
Yes,
You remember
ma'am.
hearing growing?
Yeah.
Y'all,
No
come on.
music, just stomping on the floor.
Just word, right.
Somebody
Yeah,
and Auntie, they said that definitely grew up in the country. Hey, if anybody want to come and get a testimony, then we asked you for a testimony. We didn't ask you to come up here and sing.
yeah.
But I
That
got a
was his
song too.
testimony. I got a song and a testimony. Yeah, y'all. For us, by us. Come on to the picnic. All right,
Yes,
nephew. We've
ma'am.
gone 1 hour and just about 15 minutes.
Mhm.
All right. I'm gonna have to charge you for this one.
But
Y'all, thank y'all. Thank you, Will. Thank you, nephew. This has been such
thank
a
you.
blessing.
Thank you.
Y'all take a plate home and share it. Share it with somebody else. Share this video. We'll be back tomorrow, maybe.
Oh yeah,
We'll
for
talk
sure.
about
Tomorrow, fine.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You guys rock with us in the morning. Peace. You done? Are you sure we done?
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure I'm done. I think we got enough of it out. I think that
Okay.
everyone that's going to hear has something to take away and
Yes.
transform their mind and their mindset. So just impress God and impress yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Don't live for anybody else other than God and yourself. It'll put you in a bad space. Once you get to understanding what that is, now you can leave an impression on everybody that you touch because of that confidence.
All right. Get the book. Don't fake the funk for the status. All right. Get the book. Love y'all. Peace.